With details on a lawsuit and more, this is Pro Wrestling Central. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Speaking about her second run in WWE prior to her departure, NIXON told the Stardom cast, so when I got back, did some stuff with Liv Morgan, did some stuff with Natalya, all that kind of stuff. I kind of knew it was coming. I was pitching very frequently, multiple times a week, and nothing was coming to fruition. I was wrestling on Main Event, which, I loved wrestling on Main Event. You were guaranteed at least 8 minutes. You were allowed to have fun. I loved wrestling on Main Event. I got to be a heel a couple times on Main Event against people that I loved wrestling, like Nikki Cross, like Candice LeRae. I got to be, Dana Brooke was real fun to wrestle. So, wrestling these people on Main Event, I was having a great time, but it was when I started pitching and things weren't coming to fruition that I kind of knew something was up. And then I really knew it was coming when an idea I had pitched to be a football hooligan as a gimmick got through all the talking stages, got through the pitching stages, made it to the higher-ups, was scheduled to film some stuff, and then 2 days before it got canceled, and I went, something's happening, and I think I'm going. And then I didn't wrestle. A lot of people think I wasn't wrestling because I was ill at the time, which I was ill, but I was still wrestling. I was able to wrestle while I was ill. It wasn't like, put me on the sidelines. During that same podcast, NIXON revealed that she received death threats from users online. Yeah, for the last, 8 years I was in WWE, constantly called injury prone. Was told that, I'm not in a push because I'm injury prone. She can't even wrestle a match without getting hurt. All this stuff, right? And I'm like, alright, basement dwellers, so sad. You know what I mean? Your opinion means nothing to me. But there was a time, especially after the second knee injury, where I was in such a dark place. It was incredibly bad. I've never been that low in my life. It was awful. So to see that every single day I gave control of my social media over to people because I couldn't do it, because every day I was being told I'm injury prone, and then every single day, and I'm not joking, for a good 18 months plus, I was being told that I should kill myself. All kinds of death wishes, death threats, just because I was hurt. One person, I can't remember the name, but I remember the profile photo, said on Twitter, "It should have been your neck instead of your knees." I was sick. Thanks for that. That's why I felt the need to say it in that promo, because I'm at the point where I don't care. If you're gonna hate on me now, at least be creative about it. You've said that for 8 years. Jokes run dry, and people are like, the joke's clearly not dry because you mentioned it. It's no, I'm making fun of you by calling myself injury prone, you idiot. Announcing the launch of his OnlyFans account, former WWE and UFC name Matt Riddle said this in a video on X.
Matthew Riddle, the King of Bros, here in this beautiful Versace robe. I'm here to tell everyone that the OnlyFans, the Bronlyfans, is finally dropping tonight on, some say Father's Day, but I say Daddy's Day. So if you want to see me and maybe more, subscribe. Links in the bio, bro.
Recalling a story from his time driving with Stone Cold Steve Austin, former WWE and current AEW commentator Jim Ross told Inside the Ropes, "We did Raw in Phoenix, Arizona. Then the next night it was a SmackDown taping, so it's about 100 miles. And we drank. Even when we were just tasting this wine, we did. We broke every law imaginable. Driving 100 miles an hour, we had open containers. Drank 2 bottles of wine in an hour or something on the drive. And we got really faced. I haven't drank wine since. I'm done. It's like that one time getting drunk on Jack Daniels. I can't even smell it anymore. It makes me nauseous. Steve is unique. Steve's not. He goes on these tangents about drinking." Mentioning the runtime of SmackDown on USA Network, Ringside News wrote that if you were hoping WWE SmackDown would cut back to 2 hours anytime soon, don't hold your breath. On the June 16th episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed that WWE's Blue brand is staying at 3 hours for now. And the kicker? USA Network isn't paying them a dime extra for the added content. Brian Alvarez kicked things off by asking the obvious question that's been circulating for weeks. What is this story with SmackDown at 3 hours? Is this permanent? Meltzer didn't hesitate to respond. Until USA comes up and changes the idea, Meltzer said, making it clear that there's no definitive end date in sight. When Alvarez pressed further, asking if this is just how it is from now on, Meltzer doubled down. Yeah, well, it's 3 hours until they change it, Meltzer explained. It's not like originally it was going to stop in June, and USA had a show that they wanted to put on from 10 to 11, piggybacking off SmackDown, and for whatever reason, they made the call that it wasn't worth it, and for their ratings, it's not worth it. I think they realized that Hour 3 is going to do triple anything they're going to put on in that spot. Then came the shocker. Alvarez asked if WWE was at least securing more money for the extra hour of programming. So clearly, they must be being paid some new deal, he asked. Meltzer shut that idea down fast. No, he replied bluntly. Clearly stunned, Alvarez fired back with some sarcasm. They're doing this for free? I'm suffering through this for charity? Meltzer elaborated, offering more context on why the deal probably wasn't renegotiated. Well, I guess the way they signed the contract, they must have given USA the option, he said, because if they were making more money on the deal, it absolutely would have been said at the investors call, and we should have seen it. We would have seen the difference in the money, so obviously the money has not changed, because if it was, we'd have been told. So there it is. SmackDown's third hour isn't going anywhere, and WWE's not making a penny more to produce it. USA Network likes the numbers. WWE keeps their original payout, and the fans are left deciding if it's worth the time. Touching on plans for AEW to unify the Continental and International titles with champions Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega set to face off, Sean Ross Sapp noted on the Fightful Report podcast. Also, something that has been a plan since then is the unification, the combination of the International and the Continental Championship. At no point ever have I heard that Intercontinental Championship was considered. I don't even think it could be considered. WWE filed a trademark on it in July of 2020, so even if they wanted to, which I have never heard that they did, it isn't something they could really dig into. I know this has been something that AEW has long viewed as a second top title and something that they want to make a second top title. They had it level up from the All-Atlantic Championship to the International Championship, and now it's a unification of these two belts. Now, I sure hope they're not carrying around all 3 belts, because that would just make the situation worse. And what we've seen based on the Triple Crown and combining the 6-man titles is that eventually they'll be split again. I have not heard that this is the case. I know they want to make this a highly promoted top title, not a mid or upper card title. Going over a lawsuit that All Elite Wrestling is facing, Ringside News wrote that AEW and Jon Moxley are now at the center of a civil lawsuit filed by a production crew member who says he was injured during a segment gone wrong on AEW Dynamite, and he's accusing Moxley of assault and the company of gross negligence. According to Sports Illustrated, the lawsuit was filed May 30th, 2025 in Wayne County Circuit Court by Christopher Dispenza, a longtime production hand who worked on AEW events through Broadcast Service Group. While Dispenza has worked with AEW since 2019, he is not an employee of AEW, but rather a contractor who provided services via Broadcast Service Group, a third-party cruise supplier. Dispenza says he suffered serious injuries during the May 10th, 2023 episode of Dynamite in Detroit, during a violent cage match between Moxley and Kenny Omega. He claims Moxley shoved him unexpectedly while grabbing a screwdriver, an action he says was not part of the plan. By by going off script and violently shoving plaintiff, who was only a crew member, to the ground. Moxley demonstrated a substantial lack of concern for whether a severe injury would result to a production crew member at the event. He alleges the push led to neck and shoulder injury severe enough to require cervical fusion and shoulder surgery. His lawyers are accusing both AEW and Moxley of gross negligence and say AEW should have taken precautions to protect its crew from talent going off script. The lawsuit also attempts to paint a pattern of risk, claiming AEW management should have known better. Past disciplinary offenses by Moxley include a documented history of unpredictability, as well as a lack of control by defendant AEW, all of which were known or should have been known to defendant AEW at the time of this assault. But multiple AEW sources familiar with Moxley's career mentioned that they are unaware of any disciplinary history and insisted he's widely respected, calling him a locker room leader. Dispenza says he never filed an official incident report, but told ringside physician Dr. Michael Sampson, director of performance psychology Chris Manzioni, and a member of the athletic training staff about the injury that night. He alleges he was told later that AEW's training staff would not treat him further, and the incident was never formally addressed. He's looking to obtain compensation for injuries suffered due to actions of the wrestler and the company he worked for, his legal team stated. The lawsuit says the amount in controversy exceeds $25,000 and covers claims for medical costs, permanent disability, wage loss, emotional distress, humiliation, and damage to reputation. AEW declined to comment, saying AEW does not comment on pending litigation. Jon Moxley, who is still AEW World Champion, is scheduled to defend his title against Hangman Adam Page at AEW All In on July 12th. A status conference for the lawsuit is set for August 29th. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.